August 29th, 2005. A major American city is about to disappear. Not because of a nuclear attack, not because of a terrorist strike, but because an entire system designed to protect it is about to fail. Within hours, families will be trapped on rooftops. Hospitals will become islands. Thousands will be stranded without food, water, or rescue. And one question will haunt America for decades. Was Hurricane Katrina a natural disaster or a man-made catastrophe? New Orleans should not exist. Built beside the Mississippi River, much of the city sits below sea level. In some neighborhoods, the ground is lower than the water surrounding it. The only thing standing between the city and disaster was a massive network of levees, flood walls, pumps, and drainage canals. For decades, people trusted those defenses. Most believed they could survive anything. They were wrong. Experts had warned for years that a major hurricane could become the city's worst nightmare. Investigations after Katrina found significant weaknesses in the levee protection system. But warnings rarely make headlines. Disasters do. In August 2005, a tropical depression formed over the Bahamas. Nobody knew its name would become infamous. Katrina crossed Florida, entered the and then began feeding. The Gulf waters were exceptionally warm, like gasoline poured onto a fire. Hour by hour, Katrina exploded in strength. Soon, it became one of the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin. Meteorologists watched in disbelief. Emergency officials feared the worst. And residents of New Orleans faced a choice: leave or stay. On August 28th, New Orleans issued its first mandatory evacuation order in city history. Hundreds of thousands fled. Highways turned into parking lots. Gas stations ran dry. Hotels filled. Families packed everything they could into cars and drove away. But not everyone had that option. Many residents were elderly. Many were poor. Some had no transportation at all. Others simply believed the city would survive as it always had before. Tens of thousands remained behind. For them, there would be no escape. At dawn on August 29th, Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast. The storm was no longer Category 5. But that didn't matter.
The real killer wasn't the wind. It was the water. A massive storm surge pushed inland. Along parts of the Mississippi coast, water levels reached nearly 28 feet above normal tides. Entire neighborhoods vanished beneath the surge. Homes were ripped from foundations. Buildings collapsed. Boats appeared in streets. Yet in New Orleans, many believed they had survived. The city had avoided a direct hit. The worst seemed over. Then came the news. A levee had failed. Then another, and another.
At first, reports sounded manageable. A breach here, a leak there. Nothing unusual. Then, reality arrived. Fast. More than 50 levee and floodwall failures were eventually recorded across the region. Investigations later concluded that design and engineering failures played a major role in the catastrophe. Water rushed into New Orleans. Not inches. Not feet. Entire neighborhoods disappeared. The lower Ninth Ward was overwhelmed. Lakeview flooded. Canals became rivers. Streets became lakes. By the next day, roughly 80% of New Orleans was underwater. The city wasn't flooded. It was drowned. Imagine waking up and seeing water outside your bedroom window, then watching it rise, and rise, and rise. Families climbed into attics. Some chopped holes through roofs. Others waved towels from second-story windows. Parents held children above the water. Neighbors rescued neighbors using fishing boats. Helicopters hovered overhead. But there were too many people, and not enough rescue crews.
Investigations later found failures at multiple levels of government response, including local, state, and federal agencies. The response became one of the most criticized disaster management failures in modern American history. For survivors, the politics didn't matter. Only survival did. And every hour mattered. When the waters finally receded, the scale of destruction became clear. Entire communities were gone. Families were separated across the country. Businesses disappeared. Schools vanished. Lives were erased. More than 1,300 people lost their lives. Damage reached well over $100 billion.
making Katrina one of the costliest disasters in American history. But some losses could never be measured. The memories, the trauma, the people who never came home. 20 years later, New Orleans still remembers. The city rebuilt, the levees were strengthened, new flood protection systems were constructed. But Katrina left a permanent scar on the American conscience. Because Katrina exposed something bigger than a hurricane. It revealed what happens when infrastructure fails, when warnings are ignored, when disaster plans meet reality, and when the most vulnerable people have nowhere left to go. Hurricane Katrina wasn't just a storm. It was a test of engineering, of leadership, of preparedness, of humanity itself. And for many Americans, the question remains unanswered. The storm struck for a day. The consequences lasted a generation.